If you've been feeling really tired lately, and I don't just mean like physically tired, but existentially tired, this video is for you. And I want you to know that you are not broken. You're actually on the brink of really incredible transformation. If the idea of doing certain things feel really heavy, or you're feeling like resistance around certain things, almost like whatever ambition that you had before has just like left the building, and you now have to try really hard to motivate yourself to do certain things. Maybe it's like studying for something, or doing a job that you once loved, or at least thought you loved. Whatever it is, you might simply just be exhausted from performing a version of yourself that you have outgrown or began to outgrow. So I want to talk about this sort of sacred kind of burnout, because contrary to what we've been taught, burnout like this is not a problem. It's actually a sign from our higher self and our nervous system and our subconscious that we have outgrown or expanded beyond whatever we settled for in the past. And while it may be true that you at one point loved something, and maybe it was even a dream of yours in the past, it's also very possible and healthy to outgrow those things and to no longer be able to fit comfortably in whatever relationship, job, circumstance it is. Oftentimes, a lot of things are all tied together because they will all kind of work in tandem to reflect a certain identity that we once carried. So I think we're taught that burnout only comes from doing too much or like hustling, and that's very true and a very real kind of burnout. In this video today, I want to talk more about even a layer deeper than that, because I do think that that's true. Like I said, burnout in the sense of like hustling and moving in a certain way is the stereotypical burnout, and it's, I think, an extension of what I define as burnout. It's not just the behavior, the hustle culture, the mentality of needing to work a certain way or get things done and override your intuition, but it's also the version of you that was taught to do that. That's what we're getting at today, is the identity that you took on that was searching for safety, and in order to find safety and survive, needed to override those signs, to override your intuition, to second guess what your body was trying to tell you, that what you're doing is no longer the right fit. Maybe it never really was, but now you might just be getting to a place where that's becoming clearer. When you are awakening and your consciousness is rising and you're shedding all these old beliefs, the things that kept us small, identities that settled for smallness, eventually we get to a point where our body and our nervous system start rejecting certain things, certain roles, because our identity is being shed. The identity that fit in those roles is being shed, and you are expanding. If you think of yourself, your energy body, and by energy body, I mean your field, your capacity. We can think of it as nervous system capacity. We can think of it as consciousness, your energy. You can think probably right now your energy, my energy, sure as hell is drastically different than it even was 6 months ago. So your energy, the things that you think about, focus on, draw in, repel, all different, constantly evolving to reflect your expansion and whatever you're shedding. And so again, like your identity that fit into those roles, relationships, certain things is shedding because was not you. It was not a real reflection of your soul, of your capacity. It was a part of you that you were conditioned to develop as what I would call even a shell or a facade to stay safe. So as we shed that identity, our nervous system also starts to expand beyond it. And therefore, it becomes a lot harder to contort ourselves. If anything, it actually feels more consciously like, oh my God, I can't fit into this role anymore. Like I literally viscerally cannot do it anymore. Again, this is not falling apart. This is the scaffolding of your being and of the way you show up is rearranging, because what was there before was not sustainable or true. So what we've been conditioned to think as lazy is really just our nervous system saying, this is not authentic to my soul. This is not supportive of my expansion. And this is costing my health. This is coming at the cost of my health and my sanity. for a reason. It is keeping me small, and I am expanding. My energy body is expanding, and in order to fit into that, I have to contort myself. When I was outgrowing my previous job, I remember telling my friend, and I may have even mentioned this in another one of my videos, I felt like, before I was fully done with the job, but I started really becoming very conscious of like, okay, I can't do this anymore. Like I can't even try, I can't even pretend, because the misalignment just got so loud in so many different ways. And it wasn't just with me internally, but it was, just everywhere. But the way that I saw it, and the metaphor that I kind of had for it was, I think that in survival mode, we sort of build these cages around ourselves, right? Our identities are like little people inside cages, and the cages they keep us small. The way that I saw it was almost like the cage of that identity, or that identity as in the cage, I started to outgrow it. So the person inside of the cage, me, we'll say, my soul, my essence, started to get bigger, almost to the point where the cage was no longer like a spacious area, but like my limbs were sticking outside of it. Like this is visually what I see in this, where you are like maybe even walking around and wearing the cage like a tutu. You know what I mean? Like where it's just like a bodysuit. Like I feel like that would be at New York Fashion Week, by the way. But, where like your limbs are literally outgrowing it, and the cage can't contain you anymore. You're too big. You're getting too full, too deep, too real. And we outgrow the cage. So our body and our nervous system literally say, no more. You can't do it anymore. You're gonna have to like sit in a hunch. I mean, how long can you sit like that inside of a cage? Especially when you know it's a cage and it's closing in on you because you're getting bigger. That's what's happening to you. That's what happens when we start to wake up and we start to move towards embodiment, is we outgrow the cages that we once survived by. I think this is another one of those parts of healing that people don't talk about because it is not glamorous, like in the least. It's that sort of in-between space where, you do start to notice, okay, well, I'm definitely not that person anymore. I don't fit here anymore, but I'm also kind of scared to let it go. But also I literally can't do it anymore. That's the hardest part to navigate, possibly. Right? Like you're wrestling with the two worlds. You have this uncertainty towards where you're going. And then you also have this, version of you that feels kind of secure and safe and familiar, maybe even is trying to pull you back into it, but you also physically can't contort yourself in that way. So instead, you burn out, you get exhausted, you resist, you avoid. And just like major fatigue, a lack of inspiration, a lack of clarity, and so on. Again, this is not a bad thing. This is your soul telling you you need to shed that. You need to let it go, and you need to start moving forward. You need to start allowing for your expansion because it's happening whether you want it or not. And the best thing you can do is start moving with it, because what will happen is as soon as you sort of surrender and let go of all the things that are a reflection of your past self, your survival identity, and you start to step into embodiment and the truest, deepest version of yourself, you will start very quickly inviting and magnetizing the things that are going to serve your expansion. New relationships, new opportunities, everything, like I've said many a times, things will rearrange around your expansion because the universe, your soul, want that for you. That is an alignment for you, and that is what alignment is. It's terrifying to let go of what feels safe and familiar, but it's necessary. It's necessary. And it's once you get over that hump of, or just like that initial resistance of just letting go and surrendering, everything starts to work. Everything starts to work. Let me just say it one more time. Everything starts to work in your favor. That's the moment of resistance, is just letting go. That's where the resistance is. And actually, the more that you resist letting go, the more resistance you're gonna feel, the more fear you're gonna feel, the more terrifying it's going to be. Once you just let go though, and you start leaning in, saying, okay, my nervous system is saying, I don't fit there anymore. So what else can I get from my nervous system? What else can my intuition tell me? What else can I understand from this message? How can I keep leaning into it? Maybe I can start meditating more. Maybe I can start exploring other things that do light me up. Maybe I can tap back into my inner child. What did I like doing as a kid? What are some relationships that do bring out the best in me? Who are some people who mirror back to me the qualities that I want to continue to cultivate in myself? And who are the people who are mirroring qualities of my survival mode identity? The parts of me that are wounded or were wounded, you know? Maybe those people aren't so healthy to have around anymore. Starting to be much more conscious and intentional of what you're surrounding yourself with and how you're spending your time. And I don't necessarily mean, you need to take a full-on leap of faith in terms of quitting a job when you don't have savings and stuff like that. You should never need to do that. Like I think in my last video where I talked about the void, I think I was talking about how things, and again, coming back to the little whispers, right? If you start tuning into your intuition, refining it, clarifying, listening, truly listening, right? Those little whispers will tell you to do things that feel really small to begin with. This is what's really cool about intuition, is it understands how everything is connected in macro ways, but also in micro ways. It's all a big web, and little tiny shifts have massive, massive implications and results technically, or ripple effects into the world and into our lives. If we make one little shift, you have no idea what other thing in the background lines up because you do one little thing differently. So you may not need to take a giant leap of faith to begin with, but what you'll start doing is you start stitching like some new threads or whatever. I don't even know what this metaphor is, but you know what I mean? You start doing something. You listen to the nudges. They start pulling you in a certain direction, and it'll be subtle until it's not. And then everything starts to change and you're like, whoa, that's what this was guiding me to. Okay, that makes sense now. Wow. And you'll be like, how did I even do all that? How did I even do all that? Because you listened to the little whispers when they were whispers, when things could be small, instead of waiting. By the way, if we, aside from just disease happening and burnout and stuff like that being a result of not listening to the whispers, you know what else can happen? We get fired. Certain things start happening to us because, again, the universe, our souls, whisper until they scream. So if you want to take ownership of the situation, I encourage you to start noticing these signs in your body as messages. Your nervous system is trying to guide you into alignment through the misalignment, through the burnout. The burnout is a reflection of misalignment. It's basically like you're driving in the wrong way and you see the big sign that says wrong way. That's what burnout is telling you. Saying wrong way, turn around, do a little K-turn and start heading backwards. Rewire your, maybe even make a left turn there, whatever you need to do, but you're going the wrong way if you keep going this way. And you're gonna continue, either you might be thrown on your ass by some external circumstances that you're not gonna be ready for. You might get sick, all kinds of things that we don't want. That can be avoided if you start listening to your inner guidance system, because it knows the way. It knows the way. So we need to listen to our inner guidance to help to let it help us surrender and let go of whatever part of us is keeping us small and guiding us in the wrong direction. But the fact that you are at this stage of burning out, of the avoidance, of, feeling like you need to contort yourself, you're so close. You're at the point where you're aware. It's come into your conscious awareness, which means it's time to shed. It's time to shed, it's time to release so you can move forward into alignment. You are so close. So instead of looking at yourself and thinking, I'm so lazy, I invite you to look at your life and ask yourself, where have I been pretending I'm aligned? What are some things that I thought I loved or I thought I wanted, but they don't truly reflect who I am inside? Maybe they reflect a part of me that was trying to stay safe, that was trying to perform, right, for safety. It's never too late to start living honestly and to start looking at your life and looking at yourself and saying, what is true to me? Because your happiness and your health and well-being are more important than anything else. And when you start listening and getting honest about these things, your life has the potential to be so incredibly beautiful and abundant. If you dare to go there, and it's a scary, hard thing, but it is a courageous and amazing thing to do. There's such abundance waiting for you on the other side. Just imagine a life that truly fills up your soul. That's what's available to you. So again, this is all wisdom coming from your body. Lean in and listen, because it does know exactly what it's trying to tell you, and it knows where to take you. Let me know in the comments if this resonated with you. Let me know where in your life you may be holding on to a version of yourself that just doesn't fit anymore, holding on to a role or a job or a relationship that maybe served you when you were younger or when you were in survival, and is just something that's not serving your expansion anymore. What is your soul really asking for right now? What kind of relationships? What kind of job? What kind of environment? Because that's what's going to reflect who you really are deep down. Okay, I will leave you with that. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel for more content like this, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.